Welcome to the Chill Stoic. Before we begin, just pause for a second. Breathe in, hold it, let it go. You made it here, and that matters. Because in a world constantly trying to pull your attention in 1,000 directions, taking even 5 minutes to slow down, reflect, and reconnect with yourself is an act of quiet rebellion. You're not here to impress anyone. You're here because some part of you is done with the chaos, the burnout, the emotional roller coasters. You're here because you're ready to get stronger, not just on the outside, but within. So let's start this journey together. No pressure, no perfection, just a moment of honesty, growth, and the kind of wisdom that sticks. This is the first step, and it begins with what you choose to focus on. Part 1. Focus on what you can control. There's a strange kind of exhaustion that comes from trying to manage everything, from trying to be 10 steps ahead of every problem, every conversation, every unexpected twist that life throws your way. You wake up already bracing for what might go wrong. Your mind jumps from one concern to the next, the news, your inbox, a text you haven't answered, a decision you haven't made. You're not even out of bed yet, and already the weight of things you can't control is pressing down on your chest. But here's what the Stoics understood, and what most of us forget. Peace doesn't come from controlling everything. It comes from focusing on what's actually yours to manage. Nothing more, nothing less. And once you make that shift, everything changes. You don't have to fix the entire world. You don't have to predict the future. You just have to get brutally clear on the only thing that truly belongs to you: your mindset, your effort, your choices, your reactions. That's it. Everything else, what people think, how they treat you, what happens tomorrow, that's noise. And trying to control that noise will only drain you. So tomorrow morning, or better yet, right now, ask yourself, what's within my control today? Not in theory, in reality. Can you control someone's opinion of you? No, but you can control how you show up. Can you control whether a door opens? No, but you can knock with preparation and grace. Can you stop every hard thing from happening? Of course not, but you can decide whether you meet it with panic or with purpose. The Stoics taught that when we pour our energy into what's outside our control, we waste the power we do have. But when we focus inward, we become immovable. Not because life got easier, but because we got anchored. Think of your attention like a flashlight. If you shine it on everything that's uncertain, you'll feel anxious, small, overwhelmed. But if you turn it inward, on what you can actually shape, you begin to feel grounded, capable, alive. This is how you take your power back, not with more effort, but with better focus. And I know, it's easier said than done, especially when everything feels urgent, emotional, personal. But start small. Each morning, list just 3 things within your control. Maybe it's your breath, your words, your attitude towards someone who tests your patience. And every time you catch yourself spinning about something out of reach, pause. Redirect. Come back to center. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. Until one day, you wake up and realize, no matter what's happening around you, you're steady. You're not reacting. You're responding. You're not chasing certainty. You're owning presence. That is emotional strength. That is freedom. And it all begins here, with what you choose to focus on. Part 2. The inner pause before you react. There's a split second, a breath, a blink, between how you feel and how you act. And in that space lies your freedom. Most people miss it. They get hit with frustration, embarrassment, fear, anger, and boom, they react. Words come out sharp. Decisions are made too fast. And later, regret settles in like a storm that didn't have to happen. That's the problem. We confuse feeling something with needing to act on it immediately. But emotional strength doesn't come from suppressing what you feel. It comes from learning how to pause before you let that feeling take the wheel. That's what the Stoics mastered. They understood that while emotions are natural, reactions are choices. You may not be able to stop the emotion from rising, but you absolutely have the power to decide what comes next. And that decision, that tiny moment between the wave and your response, is where your life starts to change. So how do you create this pause? You practice it. You train for it the same way you'd train a muscle. Start with awareness. The next time something stirs you up, a tone of voice, a missed opportunity, a conversation that doesn't go your way, feel the emotion rise. But don't run with it. Just notice it. Take one breath, one full breath. Count to 3 if you need to. Remind yourself, I don't have to respond from this place. I can choose something better. That breath creates room for your mind to return, for your wisdom to speak up before your frustration does. It doesn't mean you won't feel deeply. It just means your feelings no longer get to control the narrative. You do. Imagine this. Someone throws a cutting remark your way in a meeting. The old you might react defensively, maybe even harshly, but the strong, intentional you takes a second. You hear it, you feel it, you pause, and in that pause, you get to ask, is this worth my energy? Is this even about me? And suddenly, you're not trapped in someone else's chaos. You've stayed rooted in your own clarity. That's not weakness, that's power. This habit, practiced over time, doesn't just save relationships, it preserves your integrity. Because let's be honest, some of the worst damage we do isn't caused by what people say or do to us, it's by how we react without thinking. Every time you pause, you're breaking a cycle. You're becoming someone who responds with grace, with perspective, with peace. And people around you will notice, not because you're louder, but because you're grounded, steady, clear. You want to know what real strength looks like? It's choosing silence when provoked. It's choosing reflection when challenged. It's stepping away to think, instead of stepping in to win. That pause is not passive, it's a powerful act of self-leadership. And it's available to you anytime. All it takes is willingness. So the next time emotion rises, don't run from it, and don't let it run you. Pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what does the strongest version of me do next? That version is already inside you. This habit just helps you let them lead. Part 3. Radical honesty. Own your truth without shame. There comes a point in every journey where the hardest conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. Not the version of you that puts on a smile when things are falling apart. Not the version of you that's performing for acceptance, pretending everything's fine, going through the motions. I'm talking about the you behind all that, the one you meet when you're alone with your thoughts. When the distractions fade, and the truth begins to whisper. If you want emotional strength, real, lasting, unshakable strength, then this is the next step, radical honesty. Not half-truths, not curated vulnerability, not sugar-coated affirmations. I mean raw, bare honesty. The kind that's uncomfortable. The kind that makes you swallow hard. The kind that shines a light on the corners of yourself you've been avoiding. Because here's the reality. You cannot grow from a lie. You cannot evolve if you keep denying what's actually going on inside you. You can't heal what you refuse to acknowledge. The Stoics knew this. Epictetus once said, "First, know who you are, then adorn yourself accordingly." That's not about fashion. That's about foundation. It means know your wounds, your patterns, your pride, your fears. Know the things you've been pretending don't matter, and face them. Not because they define you, but because they shape you. And once you see them clearly, you finally have the power to shift them. So let's be honest. Where are you not being honest with yourself right now? Is it the way you've been numbing your pain? The relationship you're holding onto that no longer serves your peace? The anger you keep projecting onto others instead of healing it at the source? Maybe it's that you're not giving your all, and you know it, or maybe you're burning out trying to do too much, and pretending you're fine. Whatever it is, honesty doesn't shame you. It frees you, because the moment you stop hiding from yourself, your energy comes back, your clarity returns. You start moving forward without dragging all that emotional baggage behind you. And here's the thing, being honest with yourself doesn't mean being hard on yourself. It's not about blame or guilt. It's about self-respect. It's saying, I'm done lying to myself. And when you say that, you shift. You stop being at war with reality. You stop chasing people who don't see your worth. You stop making excuses for behaviors that are holding you back. You start aligning. You start owning your life. This habit, when practiced regularly, becomes the compass that guides you out of confusion. Because every time you pause and say, "What's really going on here?" you cut through the noise. You stop reacting blindly. You start responding with wisdom. You make decisions not based on fear, but on truth. And that is power. Because no one can take that from you. People can doubt you. Life can challenge you. But if you are standing in your truth, not someone else's version, not a filtered version, your truth, you will not be shaken. So today, make space to check in with yourself. Sit in silence. Ask the uncomfortable questions. Write them down if you need to. What are you avoiding? What part of yourself have you abandoned to be accepted? What patterns are costing you peace? Don't flinch. Just witness. Because witnessing is the beginning of change. And remember, the truth doesn't break you. It builds you, one honest moment at a time. Part 4. Reflect to grow. Carry a mirror for your life. Growth doesn't happen just because time passes. Growth happens when you pause long enough to look at how you're living. And that's what this habit is all about, reflection. Because without reflection, you're just repeating the same patterns. You're reacting to the same triggers. You're caught in motion, but not in progress. The Stoics knew that if you don't examine your life, your thoughts, your behaviors, you're destined to remain stuck in cycles you don't even see. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men of his time, ended his days not with entertainment or escape, but with self-inquiry. He wrote down where he fell short, where he kept his composure, where he let himself down, not for punishment, but for clarity. He carried a mirror, not to admire his image, but to study his choices. Because that's what this habit gives you, awareness. And awareness is the first step to transformation. So many people say they want to change, they want to be more disciplined, more focused, more emotionally stable, but they don't take 5 minutes to stop and ask, what am I doing each day that builds that, or breaks that? That's where reflection comes in. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be poetic. But it does have to be honest. Before you sleep, pause. Replay your day like a movie. Where did you react emotionally? Where did you choose wisely? Where did you ignore your intuition? Where did you honor it? This habit, done consistently, creates momentum, because it gives you data. It shows you where the gaps are, not to shame you, but to give you direction. You stop walking blind. You start walking with purpose. You become someone who learns from your own life, not just from books or podcasts, but from the raw material of your actual experience. That's when growth becomes real. And over time, you start seeing patterns. You'll notice how you always get triggered when you're tired, or how you communicate better when you slow down your tone. You'll catch the self-sabotage before it takes root. You'll stop tolerating the excuses you've dressed up as reasons. And here's something people forget. Reflection isn't just about catching what went wrong. It's also about celebrating what went right. It's looking at your day and saying, I handled that better than I would have 6 months ago. It's recognizing your effort, your awareness, your progress, even if no one else sees it. Especially if no one else sees it. Because reflection isn't for the world. It's for your soul. It's your check-in point. Your compass. Your quiet moment to say, here's where I've been. Here's where I'm headed. That kind of self-intimacy changes how you move through life. You start showing up differently, not just for others, but for yourself, with more grace, with more accountability, with more alignment. So tonight, or whatever time you choose, pause before the scroll, before the binge, before the distraction. Give yourself the gift of 5 minutes. Sit with your day. Ask yourself what you did well, what you could have done better, and most importantly, what you learned. Write it down if you can. Let it sink in, and then rest, not just because the day is over, but because you honored it. You examined it, you grew from it. That is the path to wisdom. And it starts with a mirror. Part 5. Practice daily gratitude. Remember what you already have. It's easy to fall into the trap of chasing more success, more recognition, more love, more security. And while ambition has its place, without gratitude, it becomes a treadmill you can't get off. You keep running, keep reaching, and yet the finish line never comes. You scroll through highlight reels, compare your life to curated perfection, and before you even realize it, you've forgotten how much you already have. That's why this next habit isn't just powerful, it's essential. Gratitude, not the performative kind, not the kind you post once a year on Thanksgiving. I'm talking about the daily, quiet, grounding habit of pausing and actually feeling thankful. The Stoics practiced it not as a feel-good moment, but as a discipline, a way to stay rooted in what is real. Because when you learn to recognize the value in what's already present, you stop living from a place of scarcity and start living from a place of sufficiency. That shift isn't small, it's everything. Let me say something plainly. You don't have to wait until life is perfect to be grateful. You don't need to have it all figured out, healed, or completed. In fact, the time to practice gratitude is especially when things feel messy, when the future is uncertain, when the plan fell apart. That's when gratitude becomes a lifeline. It doesn't ignore your pain. It simply widens your lens. It says, yes, this is hard, and yet, there's still good here, still breath in my lungs, still someone who cares, still strength in me I haven't even fully used yet. That's not delusion, that's clarity, because life is always going to be part joy, part loss, part chaos, part grace. Gratitude doesn't pretend the dark doesn't exist, it just refuses to let you forget the light. So how do you practice it? You make it a ritual. Every morning, or every night, you write down 3 things you're grateful for. And don't go generic, really look. The warm coffee in your hand. The way sunlight spills across your kitchen counter. The dog who greets you like you're the best thing that's ever happened. The text message that came at the right time. The fact that after everything, you're still here. Still trying. Still growing. This practice rewires your mind. It shifts your default from what's missing to what's present. And over time, you stop needing so much to feel whole. You begin to see again, really see, that your life, even in its imperfection, holds more than you ever acknowledged. Gratitude also connects. When you express it to someone, sincerely, from the heart, you're telling them, you matter, you're seen, and in a world starving for validation, that small act becomes revolutionary. But don't wait for the big wins. Don't wait for the job, the apology, the vacation. Train your mind to celebrate the smallest moments, because that's where most of your life lives anyway. And here's something beautiful: the more grateful you become, the more resilient you grow. Because gratitude acts like an anchor in turbulent times. It gives you something solid to hold on to when everything else is shifting. It whispers, even now, there's still something good. So today, pause, look around, look within. What can you be thankful for? Right here, without changing a thing? Say it out loud, write it down, let it soften you, let it open you. Gratitude won't erase your pain, but it will teach you how to carry it with grace. And sometimes, that's all you need, not more, not new, just the eyes to see what's already yours. Part 6. Let go. Accept loss as a natural part of life. At some point in your life, maybe quietly, maybe violently, something will slip through your fingers. A relationship, a dream, a version of yourself you thought would last forever. And in that moment, the pain will tell you to hold on, to tighten your grip, to fight reality with everything you've got. Because loss, whether it's someone, something, or even a sense of certainty, feels like a hole being carved out of you. And we're taught to avoid that hole, to distract, to numb, to pretend we're fine. But here's what the Stoics understood, and what we all eventually learn. Loss is not an interruption of life, it is life. And learning to let go isn't about giving up. It's about moving with life instead of resisting it at every turn. We often think emotional strength is about endurance, holding on longer, pushing through no matter what, never backing down. But the truth is, some of the deepest strength is found in surrender, in whispering to yourself, This no longer serves me, and that's okay. Letting go doesn't mean it didn't matter. It means you understand it had its season, and that season has passed. It's not weakness, it's wisdom, and yet, most of us struggle to release. We hold on to people who've already left us emotionally. We cling to expectations that have long expired. We wrap our identity around plans that life has already unraveled. Why? Because letting go feels like loss of control. Because we're scared of the space that follows. Because what's familiar, even when it hurts, feels safer than the unknown. But that space, the one we fear, is where new life grows. When you let go of what you've been gripping too tightly, you make room for breath again. For clarity, for peace. Think of it like carrying a bag filled with heavy stones. Each stone is something you refuse to release, a grudge, a fear, an old version of you. And eventually, that bag becomes your identity. You forget what it feels like to walk light, to walk free, but one by one, you can put those stones down. You can say, I don't have to carry this anymore. I am not obligated to keep reliving something just because it once defined me. And the moment you do, you reconnect with something bigger than control, you reconnect with trust. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean the loss didn't shape you. It means you're choosing not to live in yesterday's pain when today still holds potential. It means you're accepting that healing doesn't always look like justice. And closure doesn't always come with a clear ending. Sometimes, your peace depends not on what they do, but on what you decide to release. Whether they ever change or not. That's maturity. That's emotional power. And it's yours to choose. Again and again. So ask yourself, what are you still holding on to that's quietly costing you your peace? Is it time to grieve it, and then let it go? Is it time to write the letter you'll never send? To stop replaying the moment? To stop trying to rewrite the ending? Because the ending already happened. And your job now is to begin again. Not by forgetting, but by forgiving. Not by erasing the memory, but by releasing the weight. That's the shift. That's the freedom. That's the strength most people will never talk about, the strength to accept. To release. To move forward with hands wide open. You are allowed to let go. You're allowed to put down the grief, the identity, the pressure, the hope that something broken will someday make sense. You're allowed to not have it all figured out. And still, breathe, still, rise, still, begin again. Part 7. Set clear priorities, know what truly matters. One of the greatest threats to your emotional strength isn't chaos, it's distraction. It's the slow, silent erosion of your energy as you give yourself away to things that don't truly matter. And the problem is, most people don't even realize it's happening. They wake up overwhelmed, go through the motions, chase deadlines, answer messages, meet expectations, and by the end of the day, they feel completely drained. Yet strangely unfulfilled. Why? Because they spent their entire day responding to what was urgent, not what was important. And there's a difference. The urgent screams. The important whispers. If you don't get clear on what truly matters, the noise will run your life, and that's how you slowly lose yourself in the busyness of being busy. This is why setting priorities is not just a productivity trick. It's a form of emotional protection. It's how you guard your peace, your time, your energy, your life's direction. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to focus only on what was essential, to strip away the unnecessary, to let go of opinions and distractions and drama that didn't serve his soul. And in our world today, that message couldn't be more relevant, because every minute, something is trying to hijack your focus, an ad, a notification, someone else's problem, someone else's opinion of how you should live. If you're not careful, your life ends up being designed by everything except your own values. So here's the question. What actually matters to you? What will you never regret giving your time to? What gives you peace, not just excitement? What builds your future, not just fills your day? Maybe it's your health, your family, your purpose. Maybe it's your spiritual life. Or a vision you haven't even allowed yourself to say out loud yet. Whatever it is, it needs to be honored, not occasionally, but daily. You need to wake up and protect your priorities like they're sacred. Because they are. Every yes you say to something meaningless is a no to what's truly meaningful. And emotional strength comes from learning the art of saying no clearly, kindly, and unapologetically. No to things that drain you. No to people who disrespect your boundaries. No to chasing approval. No to urgency disguised as importance. The world will keep spinning. The inbox will still be full. But your time here? It's not unlimited, and you can't afford to give the best of yourself to the things that matter least. So today, take inventory. What are you pouring your energy into? Where is your attention going when you feel overwhelmed? Who are you constantly showing up for, at the expense of yourself? And then ask, does this align with the life I actually want to live? Or is it just noise I've gotten used to? Setting priorities doesn't make you rigid, it makes you focused. It makes you intentional, and it makes you powerful. Because you stop getting pulled in every direction, and start moving in the one that's yours. You begin to trade being reactive for being rooted. You stop living on autopilot, and you start living on purpose. That's where peace begins, not when everything gets done, but when what matters most gets honored first. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do the right things, the things that move you forward, that nourish your soul, that align with who you're becoming. And you need to do them often enough that they become the center of your life, not the leftover corners. Prioritize your health, prioritize your presence, prioritize your peace, and protect them like they're the foundation of everything, because they are. Part 8. Set a daily purpose. Know your why for today. There's a certain emptiness that creeps in, not from being tired, or overwhelmed, or even heartbroken, but from moving through your day without a sense of why. You wake up, check your phone, do the things, cross off the list, keep it all together, but deep inside, you feel like you're floating, going through motions that don't feel like they're building anything. And that feeling, that quiet ache, it's not laziness, it's not lack of ambition. It's your soul asking for something more, for meaning, for direction, for intention. That's why this final habit matters more than you think, because emotional strength isn't just about reacting better. It's about living with purpose. And purpose doesn't always mean a grand life mission or a 5-year plan. Sometimes, it simply means waking up and asking, what is my why for today? Because even one meaningful reason to get out of bed can shift everything. The Stoics believed deeply in this. Marcus Aurelius would start his mornings reminding himself of the kind of man he wanted to be, not based on how the world would treat him, but on the virtues he wanted to live by. He set the tone for his day before the day began. Because without a clear sense of purpose, we become vulnerable to anything, to other people's agendas, to emotional triggers, to distractions that eat up our time but never feed our spirit. But when you wake up and decide, today I will lead with kindness, or today I will finish what I start, or today I will take care of my body, that clarity becomes your compass. You stop drifting, you start choosing. Purpose doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to impress anyone. It just has to be yours. Maybe your purpose today is to be present with your kids, really present, without the phone in your hand. Maybe it's to speak truth in a conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's to stay calm in a meeting where you'd normally snap. Or maybe it's to rest, to breathe, to remind yourself that productivity doesn't define your worth. The beauty of this habit is that it meets you where you are. It's flexible, fluid, human. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need one clear intention to carry with you. And when the day gets messy, as it always does, you come back to that anchor and ask, is what I'm doing right now aligned with my purpose today? If yes, you lean in. If not, you redirect. Simple, grounding, real. Setting a daily purpose doesn't just make you more focused, it makes you more alive. It turns mundane moments into meaningful ones. A walk becomes sacred, a task becomes a promise to yourself. A conversation becomes an opportunity to live your values out loud. And that's how emotional strength is built, not in some distant future, but in the way you choose to show up today, right here, right now. So tomorrow morning, before the day gets ahead of you, pause. Don't just reach for your phone. Reach for your why. Ask yourself, what will give today its meaning? Write it down. Say it out loud. Let it shape your choices. Let it remind you that your life is not something to survive, it's something to build. One purposeful day at a time. And if you forget, that's okay. Begin again. The next breath, the next hour, the next sunrise. Purpose isn't a destination, it's a practice. And you, just by listening, just by caring enough to reflect, you're already living it more than you know. Thank you, truly, for walking through these 8 habits with me. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here. To grow, to reflect, to heal. That matters. You matter. And if these words have helped you, even in a small way, I hope you'll carry them forward, not just in thought, but in action. Until next time, keep coming home to yourself. That's where all the strength has been waiting. If this spoke to you, subscribe to the Chill Stoic. We'll meet you again.